They say all roads lead to Scranton, and if that's true, then this road leads right to a putting green and the man who put family fun in golf. Picture this. You're 8 years old. It's a summer night. The parking lot lights are buzzing. There's a smell of something fried in the air. Your dad just handed you a tiny green golf ball and a putter that comes up to your chin. And standing there between you and that first hole, a windmill, spinning, just daring you to time it right. Everybody has that memory. That windmill, that ridiculous grinning clown at the end of the course that swallowed your ball like it had a personal vendetta against you. That one game that somehow got grandma, a toddler, and your competitive uncle all playing together on the same summer night and actually having fun. You know what? Somebody invented that. Somebody looked at miniature golf, decided it wasn't enough for things to just sit there, static, and gave the whole game a pulse. And that somebody was from Scranton. His name was Ralph Lomma, and before you think, okay, some local guy built a little golf course. How cute! Let me stop you right there. Ralph Lomma sold nearly 6,000 miniature golf courses across 37 countries on 5 continents, on the rooftop of a Holiday Inn in China, on U.S. military bases, on cruise ships, and, I'm not making this up, an aircraft carrier and inside federal penitentiaries. Historians of the game call Ralph and his brother Alphonse the fathers of miniature golf. This is the story of how a kid from Scranton took a perfectly boring game, gave it a spinning windmill and a laughing clown, and turned it into one of the most universally beloved leisure activities on the planet. From a basement in Scranton, Pennsylvania, of course. Ralph Joseph Lomma was born March 13th, 1924, right here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Son of Italian immigrants Anthony and Jeannie Lomma. He grew up with that classic Scranton combination: immigrant grit, working class ambition, and a deep belief that if you could figure something out, you should probably just go ahead and build it. He attended Scranton Technical High School and studied architecture at the University of Scranton. And that detail matters, because Ralph didn't just see a problem, he could draft the solution on paper. But before he got to any of that, America called. Ralph became a pilot in the Army Air Forces and flew reconnaissance missions in the South Pacific during World War II. He survived a Japanese attack. Shrapnel wounds earned him a Purple Heart, along with numerous medals for his service. He came home to Scranton in his mid-20s, decorated, disciplined, and ready to build something worth building. The early post-war years found Ralph trying on different hats. He manufactured skillets and sold die-cast ornaments. Neither one exactly set the world on fire, but they taught him something. He understood manufacturing and selling, and he had a sharp eye for the gap between what existed and what could exist. That instinct was about to meet its moment. In the early 1950s, Ralph and his younger brother Alphonse took a trip down to Wildwood, New Jersey, and that is where everything changed. Wildwood in the 50s was the quintessential American summer escape. Salt air, neon signs, families on vacation. And when the Lomma brothers walked up to the miniature golf course there, they both noticed the same thing immediately. The game was boring. Not broken, not bad, just still. The little figures sat there looking decorative. The windmill didn't move. Nothing happened. And this was the post-war baby boom. Americans were hungry for entertainment. Drive-in movies, bowling alleys, ballparks. Sitting still didn't cut it. Ralph turned to Alphonse and said essentially, "We can do better than this." And right there, a partnership was born. Ralph, the architect, the businessman, the ideas man, would dream up the obstacles. And Alphonse, the mechanical genius of the two, would make them actually move. In 1955, the Lomma brothers opened their first miniature golf course right here in Scranton, and it was unlike anything anyone had ever played. The windmill didn't just stand there, it spun. The paddle wheels actually turned. The blinking traffic lights blinked. Ralph's whale spotted water every time a ball sailed through its mouth. There were loop-the-loops, drawbridges, wishing wells, and revolving wagon wheels. And at the end of every course, a giant grinning clown face waiting to swallow your ball forever. That clown was Ralph's idea. Of course it was. Here's what made it genuinely brilliant. Players now had to time their shots. You couldn't just putt and walk. You had to watch the windmill blade, wait for your window, and release at exactly the right moment. It turned a passive activity into something that required actual focus. And it made missing feel genuinely funny instead of just annoying. And Ralph had one more trick. Those spinning figures, designed to catch the eye of passing motorists. You see a windmill turning in the parking lot from the road, you stop the car, you grab the kids, you pick up 4 putters. Ralph Lomma knew exactly what he was doing. Real quick, if you're new here and you're loving this story, go ahead and hit subscribe. Every week, I dig up the untold stories of people from right here in northeastern Pennsylvania who quietly changed the world. Politicians, musicians, inventors, fashion designers, and yes, the man who made you miss a 2-inch putt because of a windmill. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Okay, back to Ralph. Ralph called his invention, without a single drop of irony, a money machine. And the math backed him up. Miniature golf courses required no maintenance. They were built to last 25 years. You didn't need specialized expertise to run one. And customers kept coming back because it was affordable, it was genuinely fun, and it was one of the only recreational activities in America where a 4-year-old and a 94-year-old could compete together on the same afternoon. Ralph said it plainly. It costs less than a ticket to the movies. Everybody can play it. It's one of the few things a family can play and stay together while doing it. The brothers began mass-producing fabricated courses. Modular, standardized, manufactured right here in Scranton and shipped anywhere on Earth. Ralph ran the business. Alphonse engineered the mechanics. That one-room basement operation grew into a manufacturing conglomerate with its own fleet of tractor-trailers. Nearly 6,000 Lomma courses were installed across 37 countries on 5 continents. In Saudi Arabia, Kenya, Vietnam, the roof of a Holiday Inn in China, U.S. military bases, cruise ships on the Mediterranean, a United States aircraft carrier, and federal penitentiaries. A basement in Scranton put miniature golf on the world map. But Ralph Lomma was never just a miniature golf guy. The president of the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce called him a complete Renaissance man. And honestly, the resume earns it. With the capital for miniature golf, Ralph developed the Elk Mountain Ski Resort in Uniondale, Pennsylvania, and a Swiss-inspired resort community called the Village of 4 Seasons. He sat on the boards of Hollywood film studios. One of them, American Film Technologies, made headlines in the 1980s when it colorized Casablanca and sent classic film lovers everywhere into a fury. The people who turned Humphrey Bogart into a color movie had a Scranton connection. Of course they did. And Ralph was close to power. He held the second fundraiser for Ronald Reagan's first presidential campaign, right in his Scranton home. Reagan later appointed him to the United States Coast Guard Commission, and the William Penn Foundation named him a distinguished Pennsylvanian. What made Ralph Lomma truly remarkable, though, wasn't the empire. It was how he lived inside it. Former Scranton Mayor Jim Connors described him in one word: Mensch, a Yiddish term for a person of deep integrity and honor. Ralph always sat at meals with his workers, not above them, with them. He always had time for the people around him, regardless of their wealth or title, and no matter where his business took him, Hollywood, Washington, Switzerland, he always came home to Scranton. His son Jonathan once begged his father to come swim in a hotel pool on vacation. Ralph had no swimming trunks, so he pulled out a pair of scissors, cut the legs off his suit pants right there, and jumped in. He was a man in a suit who never forgot he was a working man. He told his son, "I have no regrets. I did everything I ever wanted to do in my life, and I want you to do the same." His personal rule: the harder I work, the luckier I get. Ralph Lomma died on September 12th, 2011. He was 87. He left behind his wife Joyce, his son Jonathan, a grandson, and a legacy built one windmill at a time, right here in Scranton, Pennsylvania. When you read his obituaries in the New York Times or Washington Post, yes, the man was so influential he got a full-page send-off in the biggest papers in the world when he passed. They all called him the king of mini golf. The Telegraph in London called him the man who gave miniature golf its zany flair, and the New York Times noted that he shaped the American landscape. The company he and Alphonse founded in 1955 is still in business today. They just celebrated 70 years in the game. Still building courses, still right here in Scranton. So the next time you're standing on a miniature golf course, lining up your shot, watching that windmill blade spin, waiting for exactly the right moment to putt, remember the man from Scranton who put it there on purpose. Not to frustrate you, to slow you down just long enough to make you focus, and to remind you that even the smallest, silliest thing, when it's built with real imagination and relentless drive, can spin its way into history. I'm Miss Scranton, and this has been All Roads Lead to Scranton. If you've loved this story, give it a like and tell me in the comments, what is the most infuriating miniature golf obstacle that you have ever faced? Is it the windmill? The clown? The loop-the-loop? I genuinely need to know. Until next time, keep your head down, your follow-through smooth, and remember, the goofy stuff is what makes life worth living. I'll see you on the next road trip.